Hey guys, what is going on? This is Wrestlelamia, back with another episode. With WrestleMania 36 now in the rearview mirror, what's ahead for the stars of the Blue brand? Join us now as Wrestlelamia analyzes the 10th April edition of Friday Night Smackdown, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Edge's dream opponents, Kevin Sullivan addresses domestic violence allegations, WWE's taping spree, a Jake Roberts update, and more. As always, Wrestlelamia isn't going to recap the matches, but look at the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. The good. A strong opening match. It should go without saying that every wrestling program should start off with a good match. Traditionalists can talk about how wrestling shows used to build from preliminary matches to the main event, but television is much different. You want to lock in your audience and keep their eyeballs glued on the show. Whether you're a fan of women's wrestling or not, the Kabuki Warriors rematch against the current SmackDown Women's Tag Team Champions Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss was a strong opener with action from start to finish as the champions retained. Strong storylines. As fans know, the shows following WrestleMania are when the WWE sets the reset button, and while that didn't happen much on Raw, the Blue brand started, or continued, a number of storylines. Whether it was Dolph Ziggler's efforts to get Mandy Rose back, The Miz and Morrison having to deal with another challenge from the New Day and the Usos, the debut of new superstars The Forgotten Sons, the new challenge to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross by Carmella and Dana Brooke, the obvious building rift between Bayley and Sasha Banks, and Bray Wyatt's challenge to Braun Strowman, SmackDown got the job done in furthering storylines. No half-baked effort. Tonight's SmackDown was a strong showing and just what the WWE needed to do. Put on a regular episode of the Blue brand, complete with competitive matches, interviews, and segments designed to further storylines. Wrestlelamia has talked about this for weeks since the empty arena shows started. The WWE Universe may think it's weird seeing empty arena matches, but they definitely don't want to watch squash matches in them. Building Jeff Hardy back up. As Wrestlelamia noted in a previous news video, there were rumors that WWE was considering putting Jeff Hardy up against Goldberg at WrestleMania, but that they ultimately chose to go with Braun Strowman. Whatever the case, the WWE seems intent on building Jeff back up as a top performer, reminding fans tonight of Hardy's early days in the WWE and promising to showcase his journey through the promotion. Will this lead to a main event push for Hardy? Things are looking good, but it's up to Jeff to prove the WWE can count on him in the long run. Given his past escapades, that could be a long time coming. Something to look forward to. Not only did SmackDown put on its strongest show since the WWE was forced to run empty arena matches, but the promotion advertised some big matches for next week, along with the big 25th anniversary celebration for Triple H in 2 weeks. SmackDown appears to be loading up on big matches, which is usually a good way to boost ratings. And that's good news. The Miz and Morrison prove they haven't lost it when it comes to their comedic gifts. The current SmackDown Tag Team Champions entertained the fans with their "That's Good News" bit, then sang their new theme song. That is, until the Usos interrupted them. A fun segment and another example of why WWE was wise in reuniting John Morrison and The Miz. Let me in. Not only has the WWE given The Fiend some momentum back thanks to his Firefly Funhouse win over John Cena at WrestleMania, but they've put him into what could be a great match with Universal Champion Braun Strowman. Is the Monster Among Men going to serve as a transitional champion, counting the lights so The Fiend can get the belt back for his eventual showdown with Roman Reigns? That remains to be seen, but the idea of a Bray vs. Braun match is a great way to build interest over the next few weeks and perhaps even longer. There's no reason The Fiend vs. Strowman couldn't go on for several months. The bad. Another senseless squash. We'll give SmackDown a pass on Sheamus' squash win tonight, but we'd be remiss in not mentioning that squash matches have a bad history in the WWE. There are plenty of mid-card opponents for Sheamus to battle while WWE figures out his next big opponent. The downright ugly. The WWE didn't hit a grand slam tonight, but the post-WrestleMania SmackDown was a home run, with the WWE getting back to putting on shows that seemed like SmackDown, not an episode of 205 Live or Main Event. The show was entertaining and gave fans a reason to tune in next week. The WWE deserves credit for a job well done, and we hope future episodes match up or surpass this one. News: Jim Ross talks revival in AEW. As noted earlier today, the WWE has released the Revival, which means they're free, or will be soon, to look for work elsewhere. Ross talked about whether AEW president Tony Khan would be interested in bringing in the Revival. Speaking on the Top Rope Nation podcast, JR explained, "I can't imagine, knowing Tony Khan as I do and the fan that he is and his ability to spot great things, I can't imagine that he wouldn't be interested. Why would anybody not be interested in the Revival is my question. So I'm thinking there's a possibility they come to work for us. I think, I'd love that. I'd love to call their matches. I've watched a lot of their work, They're a throwback team." Ross put the Revival over during his appearance, explaining, "They are fundamentally sound, they're old school oriented in the process of telling a story, and I think that's really important. They don't leave things out, they don't take shortcuts, and they have the ability with their skill set to work with any team out there and make that team and that match better. And we've got some really good teams evolving in AEW, of course led by the Young Bucks, who may be the best tag team." While the Revival could go anywhere, their past comments strongly suggest AEW is where they want to go next, and that the Young Bucks could be their first opponents. Revival no more. Now that they're out of WWE, what should fans call Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, as well as the name of their tag team? WrestlingNews.co's Paul Davis is reporting Scott Dawson changed his name to @Dax Harwood on Twitter, and Dash Wilder has changed his name to @Cash Wheeler, so it looks like those are the names they will use on the independent scene or AEW if they sign there. The names they chose are basically modified versions of their real names. Dash Harwood's real name is David Harwood, and Cash Wheeler's real name is Daniel Wheeler. Top Guys appears to be their new tag team name. At times in WWE, they would refer to themselves as the Top Guys in promos. What do you think of these new names? If you're wondering why WWE released the Revival, be sure to check out Wrestleamia's video on that very subject. Kevin Sullivan disputes Chris Benoit episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Vice's Dark Side of the Ring recently aired a two-part episode on the Chris Benoit case, with allegations made that Nancy Benoit's former husband Kevin Sullivan beat her. While Sullivan declined to appear on the show, he recently appeared on the Jim Cornette Experience to discuss the allegations. Sullivan revealed that there was a domestic violence report, but that it was against Nancy. "Yeah, I've never brought that up, Jimmy. If you look at it, there were charges put on her. She spent 3 days in jail and she stabbed me with a knife. That was the breaking of our relationship completely. Then I never went back to Daytona. I paid for her to get out of jail, but I never brought it up because of the respect I had for her mother and father. I know it weighs heavy on their heart. I used to say I can carry this, they can't. I'm not trying to be a hero here, but why put more weight on their heads and say that?" If you've watched the episode, you'll recall Nancy's sister Sandra accusing Kevin Sullivan of giving Nancy a black eye. However, Sullivan defended himself, telling Cornette, "I think Sandra, Nancy's sister, sees things her own way. These guys from Dark Side of the Ring certainly are not Sherlock Holmes or Watson, or they would have figured that out if they did some research on that. Her mother was very appreciative, and father too, of what I did to get it squashed. We went to court and said this is the only time we ever had a problem, it won't happen again, and I got her out. She went home, and I got in the car and drove to the Keys." We may never know what happened, as the records for the case may have been sealed. As noted in our review of the Dark Side of the Ring episode on New Jack, the show's producers haven't researched their subjects as much as possible. Edge talks opponents he has to wrestle. With Edge contractually obligated to only wrestle 5 matches a year, there are a limited number of matches he'll be able to work unless he modifies his WWE contract. Now that he's finished his battle with Randy Orton, who would the Rated R superstar like to wrestle? Speaking with Corey Graves on After the Bell, Edge listed a number of potential opponents, including NXT's Tommaso Ciampa, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Velveteen Dream, as well as NXT UK's Walter. However, when it comes to a must-wrestle opponent, Edge said, "Reigns and I has to happen someday. There's no way around it, it just has to. To get that little taste at the Rumble, that felt good, man. That felt like we were in a pocket, we were in a zone, and that was the first time we ever touched." A Roman Reigns vs. Edge match seems like a dream match, as long as Roman is able to compete given the current health crisis. What other opponents has Edge thought about challenging? If I look at Raw, I'm chomping at the bit to get my hands on Aleister Black. AJ Styles, the first time we touched was at the Royal Rumble, so that has to happen. Rollins, that's a gimme, it has to happen. With Edge being absent from the WWE for 9 years, there are a number of fresh opponents for him to battle. Which opponents would you like to see Edge battle next? Let us know in the comments below. Goldberg discusses last-minute Mania plans. Bill Goldberg recently appeared on the CarCast podcast. discussing a number of subjects, including WrestleMania 36 and how his match with Roman Reigns got changed to him fighting Braun Strowman instead. I think what happened was somebody was sick and Roman had heard about it. They just had the flu. Just the fact that someone was sick under those circumstances, at the end of the day, he just couldn't do it. More power to him to continually want to get it done, whether that's realistic or unrealistic from a person in his shoes are concerned. According to the two-time Universal Champion, he was surprised there was even talk of the match in light of the circumstances, but apparently the match almost happened. When it became clear it wasn't going to take place, Braun Strowman was picked as his opponent at the last minute, something that made both him and the Monster Among Men unprepared. WWE taping up through Money in the Bank. Just as AEW has taped enough episodes to get it through the next few weeks, so has the WWE. According to WrestlingNews.co, PW Insider is reporting that wrestlers began traveling on Wednesday morning to Orlando, and people who live in the area drove directly to the tapings. The content that will be taped over the next few days will be for future episodes of Raw, Smackdown, Main Event, 205 Live, and NXT. As discussed previously, the WWE is taking every step possible to safeguard its superstars' safety. There's currently no word on whether Money in the Bank will air, but considering the qualifying matches being held on next week's SmackDown, it makes sense that fans should expect it to happen one way or another. Jake Roberts update. Last but not least, an update on WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts. Not too long ago, Wrestlelamia reported on Roberts being stuck in an Atlanta hotel due to his inability to return to Diamond Dallas Page's home as a result of the ongoing health crisis. Some fans were concerned that Roberts, who's been clean and sober for several years now, might relapse. However, the legendary wrestler reassured his fans with a tweet. "By the way, I'm not even thinking about falling off the wagon, but being alone put 20 unneeded pounds on. Jake lost a ton of weight with DDP yoga, and 20 pounds should be no problem if he puts his mind to it." Well guys, there you have it, WrestleLamia's analysis of the 10th April SmackDown, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Did you watch tonight's show? If so, what did you think? Be sure to leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll see you next time for some more wrestling content.